Let's go back in time to Grandma's house and her couch. It's Rob and Lizz in the morning, his radio.
Wow. It is like just a time machine because I'm back at Grandma's house and that kind of gold, mustardy kind of a color with some brown worked into it.
Really?
But Grandma's couch had plastic over it.
Your grandma had plastic on her couch.
Yeah. And I mean, you think about it. Down here in the summertime, and here I am, I was a healthy child, and I'm running outside.
I was a healthy child.
And I'm sweating a little bit, and then I run in and get on the plastic and slide right off or stick to it.
I was a healthy child. What a way to put it. Scott, what was it, vinyl for your grandma?
Yeah, it was that 70s green. Everything was green in the 70s, so she had a couch that matched, but it was the same situation. I get sweaty outside, come in, sit down, and you would just kind of stick to it.
And when you stand up...
Yep.
My wife's grandparents, we're from Florida, or I'm from Florida, they're from Michigan, and they would come down as snowbirds to Florida every year.
Oh, wow.
Lived in a double-wide trailer with a little built-in in the back where their bedroom was. So they had a built-in master bedroom. That's and cool. It's wintertime, and so when it's 75 degrees, the winter jackets come out in Florida because we're cold. I'm talking heavy winter jackets. It's 75. It's just blustery cold. So... when I get over there, my wife and I, my grandmother or her grandmother said, just go ahead and put your coats on the Davenport.
The what?
The Davenport. And I'm looking all over. I'm like, okay, can I figure this out? Because I don't know what a Davenport is. Is it like a closet?
That makes sense.
Where would it be? And then I looked on the floor and I went, wouldn't be the heat registry things, would it?
No.
I'm like, so I looked at Amy. I said, what's a Davenport? And she said, it's the couch over there. I said, what?
They named it?
No, it's a company. And evidently, when you buy a couch, you buy it from Davenport in Michigan. So you just put it on the Davenport.
I thought they were fancy and called him the Davenport.
There's the Davenport.
You're listening to Rob and Lizz in the morning.
On his radio.
It's Rob and Lizz in the morning, his radio.
And Rob, you had just mentioned the Davenport. Which...
Okay, let me tell you. Okay. Davenport, according to my wife's grandmother, is a couch. I had no idea. They told me one day, put the coats over on the Davenport. I'm like, what? What's that? It took me 10 minutes. I finally asked.
In the world. Okay, Scott texted in and said, look, I grew up knowing about the Davenport, but when I moved to the South from New York State, there were names for things I'd never heard of, like the chifforobe. I've never heard of that. I don't know what a chifforobe is.
That's when you ship robes.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, it is.
And he says also the hall tree.
Yeah, so that's when you decorate the whole tree.
In the hall?
The whole tree.
Oh, the whole tree.
Yeah.
Okay. Amy said, Rob, thank you for sharing the Davenport memory. As soon as you said that, all these wonderful childhood memories just came flooding back of her grandmother and her great
Sounds
aunt.
Like you guys are close.
I love that. Thanks for texting, Amy.
That's so
cool.
good. Here's Rachel at 800-447-7234. What are you thinking here, Rachel, about your grandma?
Well, my grandma, God love her, she had this weird obsession with the thrift store. I don't know if it was the strokes or if she was always that way, but she would just pick out the most random, weird, ugly items for Christmas. And we had this ongoing joke growing up that they were the foster gifts. Now that she's passed, I miss them. I miss them so much, and I miss her. And the other day I was going through the thrift store to get some stuff for a church event. And I was thinking, how fun would it be to give my mom, which is her daughter, a foster gift?
You're listening to Rob and Lizz in the morning.
On his radio.
So I'm taking a look at why there are marriages and relationships that are ending. And I'm thinking, really? 65% of these relationships that end and 88% where they ghost people is over something that is irritating to somebody or an ick to somebody.
Right. They call it cringeworthy.
Yeah. And here's the thing. My wife sticks with me no matter what my idiosyncrasies are.
Yeah.
For instance, it drives her batty if I put like a spoon in my mouth and I pull it out and it scrapes, on my teeth. I don't even know I'm doing it, you know?
I hear you.
But Amy's like, you know what? That's a first world problem. I don't care.
Well,
just do it in another room.
Right. She
Or-
cares.
Or if I'm eating chips,
Yeah.
it's just like, eat your chips, but not next to my ear. And despite all that, she just sticks with me, which I'm so grateful for. Nothing really irritates me on things that Amy did. If it does, I forget about it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But on my word, if I leave the cap off the toothpaste,
Oh, right.
she doesn't care. She cares, but it's like, put it back on there, please. But it's not like I'm leaving you over.
No,
it,
I mean, she can deal with it.
But yet there's some people that leave over those kind of things. And I'm like, why?
I don't understand that either. I have to walk around the house all the time and cut lights off, turn lights off, all because my husband will leave the lights on, and I'm like, you pay the power bill. Turn a light off.
I like to have things. Here's one thing. I like to put things so I can see the label. And Amy just puts them away and doesn't, the label isn't, but I have to turn things around so I can find them.
Absolutely.
I'm correcting that all the time.
Oh, I'm with Amy. Just if you put it in the pantry or back on the shelf.
I can never find it.
Really?
Yeah, unless I can see it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like for Scott, for instance, doesn't your wife eat your food?
Yeah. She likes whatever I'm ordering at a restaurant or even at the house. She'll let me have a little bite of that. And it's okay. I love her. But after a while, I'm kind of like, do you have a plate?
See, now there's a difference.
Kind of use your plate for a while.
There's a difference, like pulling the extra fry out. Mm-hmm. But she's going in with her fork, right?
Oh, yeah. She's just diving in. Like, hey, come on.
I know no one that does that.
Really? That would be Liz.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
Those things that your spouse will do that just kind of go, oh, okay.
I don't like it, but we'll put up with it.
Yeah, which is okay.
Yeah.
Which is okay. Because I was reading, which I thought was sad. It's really sad that people are leaving people over these little things. Why?
Right.
Why?
I mean,
don't think so.
I love anything.
I love them, and I'll put up with them, even if they do this. Like for you, Grace, what was it?
My toothbrush, not used. He uses it. He used it multiple times without me knowing, didn't tell me, and let me to continue to use it, and then brushed it off like, oh, it's nothing. It's not a big deal. It's just a toothbrush. And it grossed me out so much. And he just played it off. Like, we were watching an episode of TV where the wife found out the husband was using the toothbrush, and that's how I found out he did that. Was he was like, what's the big deal? I've used yours. And I literally looked at him like, what do you mean, what's the big deal? That's my toothbrush. That's so disgusting. I went and bought new toothbrush heads that night. I went to the pharmacy. I spent so much money on the replacement heads because they were at the pharmacy. And I went and changed my toothbrush, and I'm constantly going to monitor it now, just see if it's wet or whatever, because I'm never letting him do that again. That was so gross.
Oh.
All right.
I'm sorry. I got to take a minute.
No, that's okay. That's okay. You go take your minute. Okay, so here's Scott. What is it for you, Scott?
My wife's first name. When I went to register with her to get married, they asked what her name was. I said Lynn, and she said, "No, it's Carol." "No, it's Lynn." And she said, "No, it's Carol."
Okay.
And the woman looked at us totally confused because we'd been together this entire time, and she said, "Well, Carol's my actual first name, but I go by Lynn." And so I said, "Well, before I marry you, is there anything else I need to know before we move forward with this?" After 18 years of marriage and 4 kids, she hasn't surprised me with anything else, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, that was the first time I experienced her first name.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
I love my spouse, even though they do this. 800-447-7234. For you, Kaylee, it's what?
When he's tying up the trash, he takes the bag and he clangs it on the floor to get the stuff to go down in it so he can tie it.
Yeah.
But when he's doing that, all the germs and all the stuff that's in it, he went and got the bathroom trash and put in it, so he's clanging it and all of that spreading all over the kitchen.
It is? So it falls out of the bag?
If anything's leaking.
The germs in it are you're shaking all that stuff up, so all the dust and stuff that's in the trash is going all over the place. I'm like, no,
I had no idea because I do that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because all the stuff's at the top of the bag. You got to shake it a little bit so it goes down, then you can close it.
Kay, how do you take care of it?
Take the bag and kind of pull the strings together and then just push down on it and then tie it up. You don't have to clang it on the floor.
100%. That's all you have to do is push it down, girl. I hear ya.
And then, okay, so here's the thing. Your hand's going to get dirty, and you're going to touch everything with your hand. So you're going to spread germs all over.
Go wash my hands.
Better to wash the hands than mop the floor.
But nothing's
right.
falling out of the bag.
Yes, it is.
What's falling out of the bag?
If somebody
The
puts...
dust and the germs.
Yes. And if somebody puts a drink in that bag that is liquid, still has liquid in it, it's going everywhere.
No. Dust and germs are all over the place.
You don't have bathroom germs in the kitchen.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
I am leaning in on this one. I want to hear this.
There's so many things distracting you from sleep, isn't there? I mean, too much stuff. There's this whole thing about the ambient light. It comes off the phone. It could be a glare off your TV. Even this one comes in our house. We have a thermostat that is a smart thermostat. It came with the newer air conditioning unit that we got over a couple of summers ago. Yeah. And they're ambient, and so they're always on. I would cover it up. Now I just close the door so it doesn't come through the hallway.
You covered it. How did you cover it up? Like with
washcloth.
Right?
But I can't. The light would just keep me up. I can't do it.
Yeah, when you are trying to sleep, you will do anything. Throw a pillow over the top of it.
Yeah. I have one of those old-fashioned alarm clocks because I don't want the phone in the room with me or I'm going to check it all night. I know my weakness, and my weakness is if I turn over and I'm awake, my mind's active, and I'm going to, feed the mind being active.
Well,
so I have the phone literally in another room, so it doesn't wake me up. So I have an old-fashioned alarm clock that wakes me up.
But that's good.
Well, it has an ambient light on it, so I have to cover it up with a sock.
I guess.
So I got a washcloth out in the hallway.
You have an old dirty sock on your alarm
I put a
clock.
dirty sock over the alarm clock, so the ambient light. I mean, more and more research is coming out, right, about the ambient light thing. So
I'm just seeing you laying there, and as it goes off, you reach over and bam, you hit it, and then you pull back, and you've got this ugly, nasty, smelly, dirty
and the
sock.
smell.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
Google says, just work 80% of the time.
Okay.
80% of the time. 20% they want you to do something else if you work at Google. It's crazy. And here's what they want people at Google to do with that extra 20%. That's not extra. The 20% of the 100% of working at Google. And that is learn something that could possibly benefit Google.
I love this idea because anytime you educate yourself, it's better for everybody around.
And they said, you know what? Instead of taking 10 classes on 10 different things, focus that 20% on one thing, something that you want to learn to do. There's one person that said, I'm trying to do a diet. So I'm focusing my 20% on something that will benefit the company, and that's me being healthy.
That literally could be a workout.
It could be.
20% of their day, they're doing a workout. Nothing wrong with that.
And they say, listen, we know things are going to get in the way. There's going to be pop-up meetings. There's going to be unscheduled stuff that happens. So don't think your 20% has to be done like on every Thursday afternoon or something like that. Reschedule your 20% to be somewhere else.
So could you take your 20% of each day and put it all in one day? And then you spend 2 hours in a class or whatever the case is?
The goal is 20%.
Wow.
That's it.
No matter how you get it in.
No matter how you get it in.
Ooh, I love this. So it could be anything from, like we said, the workout to knitting to learning a new language. I mean, it could be all over the
As long as it benefits the company somehow.
Well, I can
Google.
see that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're knitting the CEO a pair of booties, I don't see anything wrong with that.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
On His Radio.
His radio.
So we're getting word that if someone works for Google, Google says 80% of your time here at Google, you spend working on what we hired you to do. So that means there's 20% to do what? So Jonathan's here at 800-447-7234. Jonathan works at Google. What's that like?
It is amazing.
What do you do for Google?
I am a data center technician.
So what's this whole 20% thing?
Basically, you learn a new skill that, like you said, will benefit the company and hopefully promote you to a better position.
Well, what's your 20%?
I'm learning to code right now.
Oh, that sounds hard.
Yes, it is. It's like a different language.
Oh, I would think so. What are some of your coworkers doing?
Some have projects that they do. that I can't really talk about.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Right.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
On his radio.
They say Minnesota and Portland. Why this is a thing, I don't know. It just seems like it's in the news, and people want to let you know that they talk really fast in Minnesota and Portland.
I used to have a friend from Minnesota, and I remember the time that I introduced my husband to her, and we had lunch, and at the end of lunch, he looked at me and said, "What did that girl say?"
It's hard to keep up.
I know.
When somebody talks really fast.
Well, especially when you're a slow talker, like one of the slowest.
Well, here's the thing. In the top 10 of the slowest talking states, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina are all in it.
Well, South Carolina is like number 2, is one of the slowest states in the entire country.
You got Georgia at 5 and North Carolina at 8 in the top 10.
Yeah, Louisiana's like, they take the top spot. South Carolina, you just missed it. But
And I don't get it because, I'm in all 3 states, and I don't hear people talking any slower. What is slow and what is fast?
Well, if you get somebody from Minnesota and somebody from Louisiana, South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, whatever, it's going to be a lot slower.
You don't talk like that.
No, you don't talk.
Liz is from here, and she does not talk slow.
But because of our profession, we speak a little faster, I think. But I think typically we still speak
you talk
slower.
just like when you talk like a normal person from this area.
But what is normal? If you're from this area, we sound normal.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound slow to me.
Because you're used to it.
And I've been in Minnesota. People don't talk slow or fast in Minnesota.
Oh, I think they do. They talk like this, and it's just... Listen, it's the truth.
They talk like what?
They talk like this. They just keep talking, and it's very quick.
That's what a Minnesotan sounds like?
No, they sound more like, "Baby, go on. My baby's bottom was all red and etchy."
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
On his radio.
Jill will be the first. She'll look you straight in the eye and say this: "I'm not an elite athlete at all." It's Rob and Lizz in the morning, his radio. She's 56. She decided she's going to take on a challenge. And what a challenge this one is. Jill, 56 years old, is going to do not 1, not 2, but 7 marathons in a row around the globe.
Can you believe 7 marathons, 7 days, 7 continents?
Yeah. They're in Antarctica, then Cape Town, Perth, Dubai, Madrid, Brazil, and it wrapped up yesterday in Miami.
Yeah, and looking for results because I'm like, okay, so Jill, how did she do? There are no results posted yet, so I guess they're all taking naps because they're jet lagged.
Of course.
I mean, so think about it. Doing a marathon anyway, that's hard. That's a long haul. But then also all the travel that goes along with it, you're exhausted if you're 26, much less 56.
Well, listen, it started in Antarctica, right? So she's running in the cold.
Yes.
With all these people. There were like over 100, I think close to 200, at least 160 that were in this thing. So she was in Antarctica, and then she went to Cape Town right after that.
Wow. Extreme cold, extreme heat,
right.
I would think.
From Cape Town to Australia, from Australia to Dubai over to Spain in Madrid, and then South America. Had to go to Brazil, and then wrapped up yesterday in Miami with the marathon.
Oh, I've never been to Brazil, but as soon as you say to Brazil, I'm thinking, oh, the humidity. And then to go to Miami, which is a little cooler now in Miami, obviously, but still.
I'm guessing it was in the 70s yesterday.
That's what I would think.
Comfortable enough for a marathon, but 7 days of brutally beating up your body at 26.2 miles, then popping on a plane to go to the next continent is amazing.
Okay.
Because I'm guessing 6, 7, 8 hours in a plane to get to the next location.
I would think. No, where did she go? I'm sorry. So before she got to Australia, she was in Africa. That was probably a pretty long
hike.
flight.
Yeah.
That was a long flight. So I'm saying they're jet lagged. Next time I get on the treadmill, I'm not complaining.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
On his radio.
Okay, Miss Pat. Incredible young lady, because Miss Pat for 15 years have picked up the phone every single day, have called thousands of people with one mission in mind. And here's her mission. Happy birthday. She does this for a volunteer organization that she works for. And every day, Miss Pat picks up the phone, and that's all she does is just wish happy birthday to everybody who volunteers for that volunteer organization.
Yeah, I mean, she was kind of sitting around going, I can give a little more out of my life. And so what can I do? Well, she is this, you probably know somebody like this, that every time they're around people, they are just the bubbly center of attention, infectious laugh, this whole thing, just joyful. That's who she is. So she is doing exactly what she needed to be doing.
Yeah, and she had something happen back in 1990, and now she's blind. There's this infection that happened, and she's like, this is not getting in the way of me kind of bringing some joy to people. So how about I do this? I just wish everybody who works here or volunteers here a happy birthday. And, man, people appreciate that because she is infectious in her personality.
Yeah, she even won the most treasured volunteer for the area that she lives in and the company that she kind of works with, the organization, I should say. But yeah, they absolutely love her. So an interviewer sat down and wanted to ask her some questions, like for a newspaper or something like this. And they were like, well, how old are you, Miss Patton? She was like, nobody needs to know that. She would not tell them. She was like, she is spicy.
I know.
I love her.
Go, Miss Pat.